TNA, TNA, TNA. Part of me wants to say never change, but part of me wants to say please do. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about TNA Genesis, the pay-per-view that aired last night. This is not going to be a full review. Instead, I'm going to be running down bits of the show. We are talking the good, the bad, and the ugly of TNA Genesis, which was a mixed show to say the least, but we're going to dive into it in a little bit when we get to those topics. But before we dive into this, please subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below. I'll try and apply to every single one of them as we dive into this, starting with the elephant in the room. A big announcement came this week of TNA partnering with WWE for official crossovers, and we got a lot of that on this show. We got a lot of teases, we got a lot of bad, we got a lot of good, so let's just do this in a sort of way that shows the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what the title of the video is. That's why you clicked on this video. So, shall we start off with the good? So, in case I needed to make it aware, this will be filled with spoilers for some of the stuff that happened at TNA Genesis, of course. And starting with the big one, the big spoiler. Finally, Joe Hendry is the TNA World Champion. It has been a long time coming. I think he should have won the title fucking way back in the middle of last year. He should have won that TNA title, but it's finally happened, starting off 2025 with a brand new TNA champion, and he deserves it. He is incredible. He's got superstar written all over him. Entrance, moves, presentation, everything about Joe Hendry is amazing, and this really was a long time coming, you know, from WCPW, working his way up, Burning Hearts, where I saw him, up to TNA. Joe Hendry, megastar. It's going to happen in 2025, and I'm so happy to see it. That was easily one of the goods. Next, let's talk about this WWE crossover that we've got, because Cora Jade and Fraxiom showed up on TNA Genesis, and I think this is a good move. I think these are the type of stars that will be going across to TNA. I doubt we will see a Cody Rhodes, a John Cena, a Roman Reigns showed up on TNA, but this partnership seems to be more in line with NXT than it is main roster. So moving these across, Cora Jade, of course, is a really big star down in NXT. Fraxiom, tag team titles, tag team champions. So moving them across, getting them into feuds there. You've got Cora Jade going after Masha Slamovich. I can't say that name. And Fraxiom going after the Rascals. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I think I'm a little bit pessimistic about this, because it now just seems that TNA may just be a feeder system to NXT, which is then a feeder system to main roster WWE, and we saw that kind of happen with Evolve. But I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be a cool partnership. Can't wait to see who comes through. We'll wait for that one time when there's going to be a massive shock, like you get someone from the main roster like Seth Rollins comes out or something like that to confront Joe Hendry. I think that will happen one of these days, but we'll see where it goes. I think overall for this night, the NXT surprises and shocks were really cool and really well done. The next good that I want to talk about is the attendance, because looking at the photos and looking at some of the clips and stuff from this, it was a pretty packed house. It looked like a really packed arena, to be honest, and venue. Like TNA, for all the sort of things about companies dying and everything like that, TNA has managed to like pull back and re-establish itself, which has been difficult. TNA's had some rough years in the past, but getting to see venues this full makes me happy, not just for TNA, but there's just wrestling in general, because I think every company doing well is good for everyone, like the people who work there and for the fans. So if we're getting good wrestling and shows are selling out, it's awesome. So I think that is a huge positive to take away from this. TNA did announce recently that they were doing some bigger shows as well with bigger venues. I think it's really, really cool, and it's really cool to see TNA, like the TNA with the logo that we fell in love with us Brits here when we watched it in 2006. It's really cool to see that TNA back. The final good that I will talk about is just overall general match quality. Everything here looked pretty good. Had some pretty good stuff. I think the Masha Slamovich match, really cool. Tag match, really cool. You had the main event, really cool. Like, I don't love Nick Nemeth. I think we were expecting a little bit more from him when he left WWE, but it was a good match. It was a good main event. There wasn't anything appallingly bad work rate wise on the show. Everything looked good. I mean, some of the stuff from GCW, holy fucking shit, some of that looked rough. But this was like, yeah, this was good. This was really good, solid wrestling, total non-stop action. It's what you've come to expect from TNA. Now we're going to talk about the bad of TNA Genesis, and we'll start with this one, with the talent leaving. So obviously there's a lot of people with contracts up at the moment in TNA, and a lot of them have chosen not to re-sign. I think Josh Alexander is one of them at the moment. His contract runs out in February. He's left. He's obviously a big staple of TNA. He sort of carried Impact on his back throughout, like, near enough the pandemic and stuff like that. He was the big face of TNA. And another one is Jordynne Grace, who seemingly her last match tonight against Tessa Blanchard, and she will probably be more than likely either NXT bound or main roster bound. I think she's ready for main roster, to be honest. I think just call her up in the Rumble and she'll slot right in to the main event scene. And yeah, I just think there's a lot of sort of sudden big name departures from TNA. They've tried their best to establish new guys like Joe Hendry, but some of them were really, really good. Jordynne Grace is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Josh Alexander is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Obviously, had Speedball Mike Bailey as well, who was doing a lot of stuff with TNA as well. He's not there anymore. So I think, yeah, some of these talent losses might be a little bit of a blow to the company, but I think they can re-establish this. Obviously, now they've got the WWE partnership going on, we can have NXT stars coming across, so it'll be fun to watch that. And then the other bad that we need to talk about is fucking weird. Like, I was like, what? So PCO is the digital media champion over in TNA, or was, and apparently he's been working without a contract. So he showed up during this TNA pay-per-view with the belt, the Digital Media Championship belt, on GCW at their Hammerstein Ballroom show, and destroyed the belt in what was according to everyone, a shoot. A real thing happened where he was on camera, he was about to cut a promo, smashed the belt with a sledgehammer, talking about how he sold t-shirts, the most t-shirts, and the biggest gate for TNA, and then they cut the feed, tried to wrestle the mic away from him. That's not what you want on a day like today or yesterday, whenever the show went out, because that doesn't make your company look good if you've got the biggest show of your year where you've got cross-branded stuff with WWE, and then immediately, pretty much at the exact same time, your champion goes out to another promotion, smashes your belt, and attempts to tear the company down with his words. It's a weird one. A very weird one. I'm shocked that this happened. It's weird. If it is in any way a work, it's stupid. And I think that is stupid on TNA's behalf. And if it's not, then there's obviously been some miscommunication somewhere. What on earth has happened? Yeah, that was weird. That was very weird, and a very, icky moment that I'm sure we'll hear more about in the coming days. And we need to talk about one of the ugliest situations and most uncomfortable situations in pro wrestling in 2025, only sort of paralleled by the Hulk Hogan thing on Raw, but we have to talk about Tessa Blanchard's match with Jordynne Grace. Overall, good match, but Tessa Blanchard has been accused of being a POS human being, being a racist, and she's a racist chance from the TNA crowd. That's horrendous. That is awful. Who thought that this was a good idea to bring Tessa Blanchard back in the midst of all these accusations? Chelsea Green tweeting about her 2 days before this show. I can't remember exactly when Chelsea Green made that tweet, but she's not apologised for it. She's not had any sort of, reconciliation with it. She's not addressed the situation in the slightest. So, yeah, fuck her. What? Until some sort of repercussions for those actions have been addressed, then yeah, you're going to get chanted, you're a racist at pretty much everything. And I think this will probably catch on. I don't think this is just a pay-per-view occurrence. I wouldn't be surprised if these chants start pretty much everywhere she goes, and they're going to have to really reconsider what they're doing with Tessa Blanchard, because I think as soon as they brought her in, it was a stupid-ass move. I think now it's proven to be a stupid-ass move. I think this is going to backfire on them, sadly. I think this is one of the most tone-deaf creative decisions in pro wrestling in like a year, in like last year, bringing back Tessa Blanchard, because TNA didn't need her. They didn't need her. And what does she add? A little bit more star power, but also you're going to be the company that's known as hiring a racist, a bullying racist, according to people's accounts. Like, what were they expecting? What were they expecting? And I think that's the big sour note. Sadly, I think this will overshadow other things. I think this will probably overshadow like some of the title matches and title wins. But if you're TNA management, you've got to be looking at this like, what are we doing here? We need to address this in some form. And I don't think anyone with like an ethical bone in their body will want to support Tessa Blanchard in what she's doing, because, you know, racist. So horrific, and this is what this show will be talked about. This will be talked about as the show where Tessa Blanchard got "you're a racist" chance, and I think that's a shame on all the other wrestlers who are here. I think it's a shame on Joe Hendry, Masha, all the other wrestlers on this show are probably going to be overshadowed by this, because this will be what people are talking about, is the crowd turning on Tessa Blanchard. So they need to figure that shit out, basically. And it leaves you with a sour note when talking about Genesis. And that's the ugly bit of it. So overall, Genesis is probably like the most TNA of TNA. Insanity. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Were you a fan? Were you not? Let me know and I'll try to apply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.